things that he brought me through. Stormy days and my rainy days. Don't know all the tears I've cried, things I've kept bottled up inside, trying my best to be strong, waiting on God and holding on.
Oh man, people just don't know what I had to endure. And, I realized that I didn't even um, show anyone how to even read my book. So, um, my book is unique. It's different. Something that to me hasn't been done before. And so I just thought that I would come on and do a quick just a little thing of how to read my book. A lot of people don't really realize how to it's not just a regular book that you just open up, read it. A lot of my family and friends, of course, they've opened it up and they've gotten it. But um, if I just give a little brief about my book, um, this book actually ended up coming to fruition, which um, been married for 20 years to the same man, father of my children. And it had come to a point in our marriage to where I was seeking God and I was asking him, what should I do? Because it was unclear to me what was going on. I realized that I wasn't happy. Um, it was no form of, I would say, that of my knowledge of any type of like infidelity or um, cheating or anything like that. It was nothing like that. It was more of a spiritual warfare that was going on. And I realized that. And I realized that the questions that I was asking and seeking, that I was trying to go to family and friends and the church and just anybody that could answer. And I realized that the only person that could answer this would be God. That's it. And so one day I prayed and I seek God. I said, God, what should I do? Because on one minute, I want to continue to stay married. But then on the other hand, I want out. But as being a Christian, you understand that what comes with that. When you have gotten into a marriage and you've committed yourself to a person and you said that for better or for worse, for richer for poor, through sickness and in health. But what do you do when it gets to a point to where you're um, at a point to where you're unhappy, spiritually, mentally, to where it's getting so bad that it's making you physically sick? And that's what my marriage was doing. I was becoming physically sick. And I prayed on it. I fast. I said, Lord, what do I do? So then I started to journal, started to write down my thoughts. And I just took a regular notebook. I didn't take no journal. I didn't take no anything. It was just a regular notebook. That I would just write down all of my thoughts, all of my um just what do I do? So as I started writing it, songs would come up, different, and some of those songs was right spot on. Like it would tell me exactly what I was feeling, I was thinking at that time. And I would write down these songs. And it got to a point to where when I started seeking God and asking God, what should I do? Should I stay in this marriage or should I go? And I realized that in this marriage that I was in, I was really kind of like, as they say, unequally yoked. I was kind of like at a point to where I was trying to seek God. I was trying to get to know Him closer, to get a closer relationship with God, and but I realized that He wasn't. I realized that I seen that the closer that I got to God, that the more things that He would say, the more things that He would do. And if anybody tells you that emotional abuse is not domestic violence, then they haven't gone through it. When people act as if their behavior or what they do to you, and it's and the reason why they're doing this to you is because of what you're doing or what you're saying, something wrong with that. When people don't take accountability for what they have done to another person, and then they flip it on the other person and tell the other person that they wouldn't act like that if you wouldn't do something or whatever. And that's where I was at, and I was tired of it. And I just remember the prayer that I asked and seek God for, that I wanted to be married, that I wanted to have a husband. I wanted to have kids, many kids, and um, I wanted a home. I wanted a beautiful home. I wanted, and all of this. And so when this is what I was dreaming and thinking of and praying to God for many years as um a young woman, I found myself at a point to where this isn't working. And I said, God, you're going to have to change me or you're going to have to change him. Either way, because something has to change. And so when I had this mindset that I'm not going to stay in this marriage if this is not God's will. And I know being in the church and I wanted to do things right. And if we were to be together, God was going to have to show me. And if we are not supposed to be together, again, God was going to have to show me. And so I started writing down my thoughts of, and I started journaling, pretty much writing down what was going on, what was he doing, what was I doing, in response. And I found myself, the more I was praying and seeking God and getting into my word, that the worse he got. And I just said, and every time that I wanted to step into it, God said, no, I'm doing the work. And I was just like, Lord, what do I do? Do I stay with him or do I go or what? And I felt like I was a double-minded man. And that's why even in my title, in my cover, you would see that it's double, a man and a woman, and it's double images. Meaning that looking at that person in the mirror and saying really to yourself, do you like that person that you are? Are you acting, are you being the man or the woman of God that God has called you to be? And I realized that I was not. I wasn't praying. I wasn't seeking God. I wasn't in my word. I was complaining about something and going to everybody else except for the only one that could fix it, and that was Jesus. And so I started to write down my thoughts, and as I was writing it down, um, as they say, even on this part of my writing, it says write it down, my book, write it down, the vision, and make it plain. And that's just what I did. As I started writing and writing down different songs that would come up to my head, I realized that God was giving me so much that I couldn't write it all down. I was actually almost like losing like pages because to write in, because I had so much. So I just decided, I was like, okay, go on your word and just start typing, because I love to type. So I just started typing what God was giving me, my thoughts, you know, and I couldn't believe how it kept going and going, and I was just like, wow. And then God was giving me, like I said, he was giving me the title, the phases, like, what do I do to for these titles or the changes? And I know a lot of people, and they say, like, oh, I need to write a book about my story. And I would tell anybody, and you hear this cliche all the time, if I could do it, you could do it. And that's one of the things that my mom would say. My mom said, if I wrote a book, you can write a book. you know but I never really thought that. I never really, in the million years, that I think that I could write a book. you know and one day I came across this book. um I had it, and it's been a while, and it's by uh the cover is off of it. I don't know, because I've gone through it and the cover kept coming off. But it's Millionaire Success Habit, and it is by Dean Graciosi. And I think that's how you pronounce his name. But I read this book, and when I was reading this book, and I realized what I was writing and what I was doing, and I said, wow, I can do it. I can write a book. And it's funny though, because at the beginning, before my husband and I, um got back together, because we had separated a few times. But when we got back together, and I realized, and I said, and I told him, I was like, we're gonna write a book. The Lord told me that I'm gonna write a book about our marriage, and I said, and we're gonna help other men and women. But how many of us know that sometimes your blessing is not for everybody? And I realized that now. I started writing this book, and I um, thought about how I could help women. I remember there was a time where I had written the book and I had printed it out, and I was like, okay, Lord. And I said, who do I go with? What publishing company? And I just Googled it. I said, I put in best publishing company. And when I did that, I was some other company at the top, but then right at eye level, it said Christian Faith Publishing. And so I knew that my book did not have um, just straight gospel music in it. It did have, I mean, my song, it has like country, it has hip hop, it has jazz, it has, gospel. It has all these different genre of music. So I wasn't quite sure, if this would fit with uh under Christian Faith Publishing. And so I decided, so the next day I called and I said, hi, I'm calling. And so the young man online, he says, well, I can send you a writer's guide, give you the breakdown of everything like that. And then I was like, okay, yeah, And then he says, well, would you like to speak to a representative? So I was like, yeah, even better. So that's what I did. I ended up getting transferred over, and I asked um, they asked me some questions, and then the final was, how do you have your book? So I said, I wrote it on Word, you know, and so they said, okay, great. And they said, can you send it to us, So sign the necessary paperwork to be able to, give them that information. And I gave it to them, and gave her a little bit, history behind it. Now, mind you, I have told them, I was like, this is a book that has never been done before, and so it is music integrated. It is has scriptures. It does have um even sexual content, that's in it. Because look, we're human beings, and I know my sister, when she was reading my book, she was just like, okay, I can read all the other part, but I couldn't read the part about your relationship, sexual relationship. And I'm like, oh my God, but everybody, as my mom would say, there's a chapter for everybody, right? And so I, you know, I told them, and this is what I told them, and I said, this book is not only going to bless me, but it's going to bless anybody that had a part in it. And with Christian Faith Publishing, if you decide to publish my book, that this company will be so busy after doing this that they're going to have to hire more people. And I stand firmly on that, to where whoever helps me, whoever is supportive of me, whoever just, even those, all of those that have helped me, that have, encouraged me, those that have stood by me during this difficult time, um, I appreciate you. I love you. To every friend and family, you know who you are. Um, and I have you in my book and everything. And so to go back again to the book, the publisher, I gave it to them, and they tell you that it takes a while to get published. I know when I was reading about Dean, the successful habits, he was stating that it took a while. It was certain ones that didn't want, that was like saying, nope, it's not a book. It's just, no, it's not, it won't go anywhere. And I even remember when I was telling my ex-husband that I was writing this book, writing a book. I didn't tell him what it was about, but he gave the he gave me that, um not encouragement, but that, yeah, okay, your mom and your best friend wrote a book too, kind of like, and where did they go? So I didn't get the support. I didn't have the support of where he, or whatever. And so let me just tell you that my book has 13 chapters. When I gave it to the publishing company, it was only 12. I did not get the answer to my book until the 13th chapter. That's when I knew without a shadow of a doubt that it was God. And like all those other times, I was thinking it was gonna, be this way, and I was like, okay, but then when this last thing happened, which, let me just say, it was on a Sunday, and the publishing company had called me back. This was like maybe 5 days. And on about 5 days, and they came back and they said that they were going to publish my book. Yep. I didn't have to go to nobody else. I didn't have to go send it to another one. And my sister told me, and she was like, okay, now that you wrote it, like, what are you going to do? And I was like, okay, well, I got to send it to these publishing companies, and then they have to see if it fits with their, and all that kind of stuff and all this. And so I was just like, and then I had even a friend that, self-published and everything. So I knew people that had written a book. I knew, my aunt, she had written a book. I had, one of my very dear friends had written a book. Even someone from the church, that I knew that had written a book. And so they were all very good and had did well. And so I was just like, but the Lord kept pushing me to do my own thing, And so um they published, Christian Faith Publishing came back, and they told me that they was going to publish my book. So I was like so elated. I was like, oh my God, And so now was at this point to where, how do I tell him that I'm about to have this book? Like they took my book, like the publisher go to my book. So I was going to have to sign on that Sunday. I mean, on that Monday. I'm sorry, on that Monday. And when I did that, something happened on Sunday that would change the rest of my life. And that's where my book comes in, of Journey of the Heart. Should I stay or should I go? So you want to understand, you want to know how to read it? Okay? Well, we're going to start off with the first chapter. Okay? You are going to need a computer or a cell phone. Okay? You're going to need these in order to look up the music. Okay? So this is how we're going to start off. Are they worth it? Let me count the ways. Chapter 1. How did I get here where I'm singing 7 Whole Days by Toni Braxton? So it has like this like little number next to it. And so you're going to go down at the bottom. Okay? And it's going to tell you the YouTube link that you want to go to. Okay? So you want to go on your phone, go to you want to go to the YouTube, because the YouTube, it actually has the words. It has the lyrics. So you bring up YouTube on your phone, okay? And then it tells you, it says, watch the YouTube lyric video for this song. It's created by N Pens and posted on May 8th of 2021. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just push the mic and make it a little bit easier. Toni Braxton, 7 Whole Days by N Pens and posted on May 8th, 2021. And then it's going to come up. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to play it. You can either continue to read, or you can read the words or the lyrics. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to read these lyrics to myself, that is. Okay. So once you've listened to the song, or you can just let it play while you read. Okay. So I'm going to be reading this as the music is going. Okay. I'm going to do it the other way. So you can be reading as long as letting this music go. Okay. I can't take it anymore, and I'm willing to call it quits. Again, mind you, it's been a struggle these past few years. And I am not exaggerating when I say it's been tough. What they say is when you have tried everything and it still doesn't work out the way you planned, then you must be doing something different to get a different result. So I decided to do just that and write about my journey, hoping this could help not only me, but maybe also someone else who feels the same way I do. I will give you a little insight into my past, present, and future in this book. I may jump off the subject for a minute, but I will be sure to get back on this topic at some point. I'm a very emotional person. So when I think about a certain thing, like when writing out my thoughts, other thoughts come into my head. And as I write, then my mind goes to that feeling. I have no formal training in writing a book. I have no college degree. And I sure didn't think that I could write a book. I have a big and generous heart, and something kept pushing me to do it, along with the book called Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Grazzi. His books pushed me to pursue and write my own book. So what you will get as you read these pages is my heart, my mind, and my spirit. This life of mine right now is truly an emotional roller coaster. And at that point, there's another song. Emotional roller coaster is the next one, number 5. So I say this all to say is you can take the book and you can just read all through it. But I encourage you to read it in the way that it was intended to be. And that's to read it and to listen to the lyrics and listen to the words of the songs, and then at the end of each chapter, even write down your own thoughts. There is a part in the back of the book to where you can give your own thoughts. And maybe this could be your start or your beginning of writing your own story, your own book. That's my hope, is that what God has blessed me with, that I would be able to help someone else, whether it be a single mother, whether it be a married couple that is struggling in their marriage. For that single, or not single, but you're in a marriage and you don't understand, you don't know what you're going to do. You don't know if you should stay in it or not. This book is not to give you the answers. It's to give you an insight of how I got my answer and what tools I use to be able to get through it and to get my final answer. I realized that the only way that you can get the answer is the only person that knows that answer, that full on answer, and that you know that there's nobody else except for him, is God himself. That's the only way that you're going to be able to fully understand and know that it was God. Because if it's God, you're going to get a confirmation and it's going to be well with you. So I say to anyone that is looking for a good read, some good music, and potentially a book that is going to uplift you, that is going to encourage you, that is going to give you hope, pick up Journey of the Heart. Should I stay or should I go? If you would like to get a book, it is available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, um, all the major platforms or anything like that. If you want to get it from me, just inbox me. Let me know that you are interested and you would like to get a copy. The benefits of having it to come straight from me is that you will have a autographed copy, as well as I will give you a autographed signature picture along with a pen, a special Journey of the Heart pen, and a bookmark that is for free. I also charge a flat rate, and it's not for delivery, but the soft copy is 25 and the hard copy is 40. If you go on Amazon or any one of those or whatever, the soft copy is $22.95 and the hard copy is $38.95. So again, you know, I'm really just wanting to be able to help someone. And I would love it if any of you were to pick up my book and you were to read it. And if it has blessed you, encouraged you in any type of way, please reach out. Um, I am looking forward to having another book signing. And I'm hoping this time that everyone will go out there, pick up Journey of the Heart. Should I stay or should I go? And so when I do have my book signing, my next book signing, uh, I will be able to have a Q&A at that time. So again, thank you so much. If you have watched my video this long, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I pray that God blesses you in your relationship, and even if it's just a decision that you need answers to. I pray that this book is able to help you to do just that, to get away from having a double mind, that you are solid and knowing exactly what God has for you in your life. And if nothing else, just remember Jeremiah 29:11, that the Lord said that he knows the plans that he has for you, says the Lord. And it's not to harm you, but it's to give you a future and a hope. And I hope that you would know that God loves you and that he wants the best for you and that he does not want you to suffer. If you are in a marriage and you're in a relationship and you are unhappy, God, that is not what God wants for neither one of you. And so I'm just praying that God, that I have said something that will touch you, that will encourage you to pick up a copy of Journey of the Heart. Should I stay or should I go? Until next time, you guys have a blessed evening and have a blessed year. And I'm going to finish with my favorite song of the year. And I know that he's been a blessing in my life. And so, thank you again to Pastor Mike. Let the church say.
Hand on the Bible, they put me away, but I'm glad God recycled. Joy came in the morning, glad I made it through the night. Man, it's light work. He put you in the dark to see your light work. He died just for you, that's what your life worth. So go ahead and let your light work. Just let it shine. Yeah. We know the way. It's love. I'm so full of It's love. I just can't get enough. Yeah. So let the church say, if you agree with everything he said, let the church say, if you agree